My name is Ray Reardon. I'm young, rich, and obsessively loyal in relationships. To put it plainly, I'm what people call the perfect man. But one day I discovered that my perfect wife was cheating on me. Without hesitation, I filed for divorce. She was devastated. After all, someone like me is one of a kind. I have 3 friends. Norman works in stocks and insists on dragging me out for golf every Wednesday. He always shamelessly borrows money from me. He's funny, but that mouth of his is always inappropriate, constantly introducing me to random women. The other 2 friends are married. The woman is a lawyer. I know she secretly has a crush on me, but my standards are too high. Ordinary women just don't interest me. Her husband, Larry, is a top-tier salesman, smart and smooth. He's like my emotional advisor and strategist. And at one time during my birthday party, Norman couldn't help himself and brought along a woman to introduce to me. I was annoyed and used an excuse to leave. But as I turned around, I bumped into a girl. Red wine spilled all over her dress. She exploded in anger and stormed off. Who would have thought that a week later, while I was shopping at the supermarket, I'd run into her again? She came up to me and apologized for her attitude, saying she'd been impulsive. Her politeness left a good impression on me. The more I looked at her, the more I felt she was exactly like the dream girl I'd imagined. I knew this was my chance. I immediately followed up and struck up a conversation, successfully inviting her to dinner. We went to a Japanese restaurant. She talked about her past. Her name was Lena, formerly a deputy sales director at a company. Just as she was about to be promoted, her boss hinted that she'd need to sleep with him. She firmly refused. As a result, she was fired. Worse, the boss threatened to blacklist her, and no one in the industry dared hire her. With nowhere to go, she left her hometown and came to the city. Hearing all this made me feel terrible. She was so beautiful and strong. It only deepened my affection for her. That night we hit it off and couldn't stop talking. When we parted, her subtle hints stirred something in me. I even lost focus at work. I had Norman dig into her background right away. But even with his wide network, Norman came up empty. Lena seemed to have appeared out of thin air. I couldn't find any information about her. I didn't even have her phone number, just a name. So after work, I went to wait downstairs at her apartment. Finally, I saw her come back with a man by her side. They kissed goodbye at the door. My heart stopped. I couldn't believe the woman I was longing for already had a boyfriend. After much hesitation, I still rang the doorbell, wanting to have a proper talk. She didn't refuse and quickly opened the door. I rushed to explain why I'd shown up unannounced and casually asked who the man was. She said he was just a gay friend. I breathed a huge sigh of relief. Then we talked more about her life, and to my surprise, she confessed her feelings for me. That night, passion took over. We naturally became a couple. The next morning, she talked about her family. Her mother used to beat her, and her father never intervened. Eventually, both passed away. She said she'd always felt like an unwanted child, so as soon as she could, she left home and never even sent a letter back. The more pitiful she seemed, the more I ached for her. Not long after, decided to have a flash marriage, despite barely knowing each other. On our wedding day, only 2 of her friends showed up. Time flew by. A year later, we had our first child. 2 years after that, our life had settled into routine, but I increasingly felt that something was off with Lena. She always said she was on the phone with female friends from her dance class, but every time I got close, she'd hang up with some excuse. One day, a rural woman called out to her, shouting, "Qian Qian." She claimed she wasn't from the countryside and wasn't named Qian Qian, said the woman must have mistaken her for someone else. Then one night, she refused to sleep with me. That's when my suspicions peaked. We hadn't been intimate in ages. That same day, a client was late, and I chatted with his assistant while waiting. To my surprise, the assistant said he and my wife went to the same university, just 1 year apart, but he didn't recognize her at all. He said back then everyone was too busy with studies and job hunting to socialize. He mentioned how the student council president, Sam, died suddenly of a heart attack during a speech, shocking the whole school. That night after work, I casually asked Lena if she remembered anyone named Sam who died of a heart attack. She said she had no idea what I was talking about, completely unaware of something so sensational. In that moment, I was almost certain she was lying. The next morning, while she was In the shower, I searched her bag. I found a matchbook labeled Chongjin Hotel. I didn't confront her. Instead, I pretended to go on a business trip. I went to the town the rural woman had mentioned to get to the bottom of it. The photo in hand, I asked around until I met a long-haired man. He said he knew the woman in the picture. She had once been his wife. Back then, Lena was desperate to marry rich and hated the idea of poverty. She eventually ran away from home and cut ties with her family, and I followed his directions and found her childhood home. To my shock, when her mother opened the door, she hugged me tightly. She told me Lena had been writing home all along, and that she told her parents I was a CIA agent, so they couldn't contact me or her. The elderly couple had never dared reach out to their daughter. Surprisingly, I wasn't angry at Lena's lies. I was just confused. Why would she cut off contact with parents who loved her so deeply? Lena told me her parents were poor and used to a life of hardship. If she kept in touch, they would eventually become a burden. She sighed, saying if she hadn't left back then, she might still be living like that today. She admitted to making up her background, but she didn't see it as wrong because she had become a completely different person. This version of her was hard for me to accept, but my love for her remained deep, and I wasn't willing to give up. After she tearfully defended herself, I forgave her. Whether she was once Chen Qian or now Lena, I loved her all the same. Soon after, our second child was born. When my 3 friends came to visit, the lawyer joked that the baby looked nothing like me. Her offhand remark sparked fresh suspicion in my mind. I noticed that Lena's phone was always ringing. Whenever I asked, she'd say it was that mysterious best friend I'd never met. One Wednesday, she said she was going out with that friend. I had my secretary call her phone all day, but no one picked up. That night, I saw a bruise on her leg. She brushed it off, saying she'd bumped into a chair. When I questioned her, she lashed out. She accused me of not trusting her and said she'd seen a therapist that day. Only afterward did she meet her friend. Then she called the friend in front of me. On the other end was indeed a woman's recorded voice, so I didn't press further. But one day I noticed a new female employee at my company who looked familiar. I thought for a while before remembering she was at our wedding. Back then, she claimed to be Lena's friend. Under pressure, she admitted she had been paid by Lena to pretend to be a guest. At this point, she stopped pretending. She told me our encounter was never a coincidence. 5 years ago, the moment she first saw me, she fell for me. When she later heard about my divorce, she made up her mind to get close to me. As it happened, she had a friend who knew Norman, and Norman knew everything about my preferences in a partner, so she asked that friend to get all the information about me from Norman. Then she tailored herself to become exactly my type, disguised herself, and got closer step by step, tricking me completely. She said she truly loved me, and that's why she didn't dare to tell me the truth. Afraid I would hate her if I knew, but I still couldn't accept her lying to me over and over again. I went to Larry to vent, but the more I talked, the worse I felt. In the end, I could only admit I was just a fool in love. On Wednesday, the receptionist suddenly handed me a bill that had been sent to the office by mistake. It was Lena's credit card bill. I instantly sensed something was wrong. She always handled the household finances. The secretary explained that it was a newly issued card, so it had been mailed to the company. I took the bill and looked at it. A string of charges, all at Rooster Hotel, every one of them on a Wednesday. I immediately recalled Wednesday Lena hadn't answered my calls all day, and the box of hotel matches I had found in her bag. I told the secretary to call the hotel and ask for the person staying in Lena's room, but they said she had just checked out. Furious, I rushed home to confront her. This time Lena didn't deny it. She admitted that the voice on the phone wasn't a girlfriend at all. It was her lover. She had recorded a woman's voice as her voicemail greeting, and it had fooled even me, her husband. She didn't say who the man was, but everything between the lines made it obvious. It was my best friend. They had been seeing each other even before I got married. Those bruises I had seen on her before, they were from him. Then she told me, even the 2 kids weren't mine. I nearly exploded on the spot. I grabbed my coat and stormed out, but the more I thought about it, the more something didn't add up. She had said she got my information from Norman, but Norman plays golf every Wednesday, and he's notoriously promiscuous. I rushed back home to confront her again, only to find the house in chaos. A bald man claimed to be a psychiatrist He said Lena had called him to evaluate my mental state. Hearing him say I was crazy pushed me over the edge. I shoved him toward the door. Right then, a group of police officers already lying in wait rushed in and pinned me down. Lena appeared in the doorway, now with fresh bruises on her body. The psychiatrist, clearly terrified, immediately diagnosed me as a violent lunatic and ordered the police to take me to the hospital. Turns out this had all been planned by her and that man. They were after everything I had. They wanted me ruined, disgraced, left with nothing. At the hearing, I explained everything. I said Norman had leaked my information to her. She had crafted a false identity and married me. She faked calls with an imaginary girlfriend while staying in contact with Norman. They met secretly at the hotel every Wednesday. Then the psychiatrist spoke. He said Lena had been seeing him for years, often with bruises, claiming I had beaten her. When she called that day, he rushed over with the police and saw her injuries himself. Norman also testified. He admitted he was a womanizer and that he admired Lena's beauty, but he swore he never touched a friend's wife. He even produced 10 years worth of golf records for every Wednesday, along with witness statements from fellow players. As for the girlfriend Lena spoke to on the phone, she turned out to be real, a woman she had met in dance class. At first, I thought she was an actress Lena had hired, but every word she said checked out. From start to finish, Lena had set me up. Her goal was to push me into a mental institution so she could legally take everything. By then, I completely broke down. I charged at her, trying to teach her a lesson, only to confirm everyone's belief that I was insane. But I didn't give up. I started playing along, acting crazy, cooperating with treatment. Once the doctor left, I would secretly spit out the sedatives and hand them to my roommate. Then I contacted a female attorney, Larry's wife, and also an old friend of mine. I told her I suspected the man Lena was really having an affair with wasn't Norman, but her husband, Larry. She instantly understood after hearing the details. She recalled how Larry had bought a luxury house in New Zealand, which he claimed was a return on an investment when she confronted him. So we struck a deal and began to fight back together. First, she called Lena, said she had just visited me in the hospital, and told her I was very calm after taking the meds. But she also hinted that I kept repeating she made a terrible mistake, suggesting the plan might be falling apart. Sure enough, Lena came to the hospital herself soon after to check things out. By then, I had convinced everyone I was just a dumb, deranged patient. She and I walked together in the garden, while a guard followed closely behind, watching our every move. Just as I hoped. Already talked my roommate into faking a breakdown at that exact moment to distract the guard. Once the guard ran off, I turned to Lena and stared straight at her. I told her the one fatal flaw in her plan was driving me insane because a madman who kills doesn't bear legal responsibility. Without mercy, I attacked and strangled her with my own hands, and because of my insanity, I would be found not guilty by reason of mental